Today we introduce a new wizard tradition for 5e D&D, Order of the Peacock. Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Steve, and as usual I'm joined by this nerd.
Nerdarchist Ted.
Keep those D&D videos strutting through your YouTube feed by pecking at that subscribe button.
And if you want to keep those Nerdarchy videos flying, then make sure you scratch at that notification bell.
Before we jump into that new wizard tradition, we'll take a minute to thank our sponsor, Dungeon Fog. Hey, maybe you need to craft their tower for them. Dungeon Fog would be the perfect place to do it. It is so great. I love this mapping tool. It feels like I'm a kid again, drawing on graph paper, only I'm doing it digitally. It looks so much better, so much cleaner, so much prettier.
But if, you're not super into, designing from scratch, Dungeon Fog has a number of already pre-built maps in their library that you can be able to check out, download and use right away, or go so much as to take those and modify them to your heart's content.
You can even start off with the free account and check it out and use it before you decide to buy. With that, there will be a link down in the description. Go check it out.
All right, Dave, you decided that you wanted to create this Order of the Peacock wizard tradition. I know normally we do a lot of, reviews of subclasses from the Unearthed Arcana in the new books, occasionally from elsewhere. What made you decide to say, I want to create one of my own wizard tradition for this particular video?
All right, so there's a couple things that happened. One is there was just this GIF on Facebook of a peacock, and it just looked so fabulous, so amazing. I was like, this peacock must be a wizard. I don't know why, I just felt like it was. Not only that, a little while back, we played D&D in a castle. We had our own castle they gave us and let us run whatever adventure we wanted to run. And the castle we were originally supposed to use had a lot to do with peacocks, so we incorporated a lot of like that symbology and themes throughout our adventures that we had written. So like those two things kind of came together for me, and I'm just thinking of this like super posh aristocrat, kind of like a bit of a fancy and a dandy layabout wizard that, just loves pretty things. They're kind of about performance and being really showy. I am a little torn between calling it Order of the Peacock or Order of the Muster, because a group of peacocks is called a muster. But from it, I'm like, we could probably come up with some really cool ideas, and that's exactly what we're going to do here today.
All right, so this is a rough draft, but I think what we came up with yesterday when we're putting this together, I think was pretty cool, pretty unique, flavorful, if you will. So we're going to dive into it, or do we want to go more into, the lore? How do you want to start this off, sir?
A little bit about the lore. I mean, there's not a whole lot there, but one of the things I really kind of think about too is like, I think it was like Kung Fu Panda #3, but there's a peacock villain, and I was like, oh yeah, I could see how this could be like a really good villain. Also, I also thought about like the villain from Rob Roy, but instead of being like a master swordsman or duelist, what if they were a wizard, right? Like that kind of persona really works. What if you had a whole order of these people? Some of them might just like the finer things in life, and some of them might just be actually terrible people. So I feel like it could work as a player character, it could work as an NPC or a villain. So I think there's a lot of fun you could have with it for introducing a character that is a spellcaster and a wizard, but not the wizard you're used to.
Indeed. All right, so with that, we're gonna dive in. Peacock Flare. Basically, they're gonna get an item that they get to represent as their arcane focus. It can be a fan, a flag, a ribbon, a robe, however you want to play it out, but it's gonna function as your focus. When you take the subclass, you're gonna gain proficiency with their performance skill, as well as your choice of either deception or persuasion.
And of course, that's your second level ability. Your other second level ability is Stunning Beauty. As an action, you can perform a dance displaying your flare, targeting one creature you can see within 30 feet. The target must make a wisdom saving throw. The DC equals your spell to save DC. You can use this feature a number of times per day, equal to your charisma mod, minimum of once. If the target fails their saving throw, they are stunned until the end of your next turn.
So when designing this one, we looked at the fact that, a lot of things, in Wizard typically rely solely upon intelligence, but there are a handful out there that do stretch out into other stats. And with this one being very charismatic, I felt it was kind of necessary to not put, all your apples, in the same basket, so to speak. I wanted you to, if you're going to make this, I want to, have charisma be an important stat for this character.
And I think we also like the idea of, this particular wizard, and when they do their somatic components, they're very dance-like and performance-like, and they're using, whether it's a fan that looks like, when it opens up, it looks like the peacock plumage, or maybe their whole entire robes are kind of made of peacock feathers. Maybe when they move their arms and their hands and go out wide, it's almost like that peacock, displaying their plumage. Or, maybe someone will come up with some other ways of using it. But that's kind of like where my mind drifted to.
And you absolutely want to, if you wanted to get that visualization, you definitely want to be able to see that peacock strut to really see, where we're getting the visualizations for this. My family and I, we go to, the Philadelphia Zoo, and there are peacocks that wander there frequently. So you can see that kind of stuff, live and in person. It's cool on the computer, but seeing it live, is like nothing else. So,
yeah. Well, wait, when I was at the Langley Castle, at the Indiana Castle, there were peacocks roaming all around.
So the next level that Wizards get a subclass feature is going to be 6th, and for this one they're going to get Hypnotized. At 6th level, you add the spell Hypnotic Pattern to your spell book. If you don't already have it, you can cast this spell once without expending a spell slot. Once you cast this in this way, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, though you can still cast it normally using an available spell slot.
Yeah, pretty clear, cut and dry. They produce that flare, boom, they hit you with it. Hypnotic Pattern just makes sense. 10th level, Peacock Strut. After casting a spell with a material somatic verbal that uses your flare as an arcane focus, your body becomes blurred, shifting and wavering to all who can see you. Any creature has disadvantage on attack rolls against you, and attackers is immune to the effect if it doesn't rely on sight, as with blind sight, or can see through illusions. True sight, the effect lasts until the start of your next turn.
So with this, the spell has to have all 3 aspects, the verbal, somatic, and material, for this to affect. But it's pretty potent, and we did some research. There are a lot of spells that are going to fall into this particular pattern. And some of the other 10th level powers that Wizards get are pretty potent. So we don't feel that this is overpowered or, anywhere along those lines.
Yeah, so the idea is, like, after you do it, your form wavers and shifts, and maybe they just see your flare all over the place, which is distracting and disorienting. And that's another part of it. You have to use your flare as part of the spellcasting process.
So 14th level, we're going to get Eye of the Peacock. It's a reaction. When a creature you can see within 60 feet makes an attack roll against you, you can use your reaction to force the creature to make a charisma saving throw. On a failure, the attack fails and the creature is charmed by you until the end of your next turn.
So, we wanted to give them something that's kind of defensive, and also, like, all their abilities are kind of like, hey, look at me, and then something kind of happens because, that's what they do. It's all about performance. It's all about showy. You want to be the center of attention. I think this could be a fun wizard to play, whether I'm the DM using them as an NPC or even the villain, or as a player. I think I could have fun with it as well if you just wanted to play that really foppish, dandy type character.
It's a little over the top, but I absolutely agree with Dave. If you're looking at Rob Roy or Kung Fu Panda, there's definitely that showy, in your face, villain, and you don't have to be super fop, you don't have to be super regal, but just that in your face, I am better than you type personality could really fit the features that you have here. And when you use that that high level ability of like, oh, you go to attack me, let's see if you're on my side for a turn. And that can happen a lot because it's just the use of the reaction, which sucks for a wizard because you're not shielding, counterspelling, enduring elements, or any number of other spells that might fall into that spectrum, but it's still pretty darn potent.
So let us know what you think. How would you use this? Would you use this? But hey, we have been known to build other things in our videos. We've even done races before, like in this video here, Goat Folk Player Character Race, Order of the Wizened. Check it out.
eventually the stuff we make gets turned into products. So you could go check us out over on Patreon, where we make stuff for players and DMs alike every month.
But that's not all. We do weekly patron-only live chats. We have monthly giveaways our patrons are automatically entered in, and more.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.